Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Silicon Nubian YouTube channel, where we're all about things tech. Today I'm going to have a look at a Linux distribution that a few people have asked me to kick the tires on. This is FerenOS 2018.04, or the April 2018 latest ISO. FerenOS is a British-made Linux distribution which uses Linux Mint 18.3 release as its foundation. It's a solid foundation indeed, and it also uses Cinnamon as its desktop environment, or DE. There are some customizations, and as we poke the tires and dig in, we'll see if FerenOS can match the claim by its developers, and I'm quoting from the website, FerenOS is what makes Linux more usable by the everyday user. So let's log in and poke around. As with all my Linux distribution videos, Linux has been updated to the latest updates as of the recording of this video. So here we have the default desktop, very nice. I should inform you that this isn't actually the desktop background that you get out of the box. I'll show you which one it is. It's this background. Which I didn't find very appealing, but that's nothing. Much like when you're hunting for a house, you don't look at the color of the walls because that can be easily changed. With Linux, absolutely. So, very easy, as we've seen before. I changed the background to something a little bit more neutral and more fitting for the recording of this video. Very easy to do. I like that it's done in real time. So here we have the desktop. Right-clicking again will bring a number of choices we have. Create new folder. Desklets, stuff like that. There are desklets, sorry, we can see a few already, such as the clock and the weather that we'll get to in a minute. Create new launchers, open root, open terminal, and we can do icon sizing and arrange the desktop from here. We can see that there is a clock desklet, which is already started. It's not movable, can't click, won't do anything. You have to do it from the desklet application configuration panel. So let's get to the bottom right. We can see we have our volume control, and we have quick access to our sound settings, which look very complete, and honestly not much different from other distributions that I've seen, but very clean. We have our network, and we can of course go to network settings right away, and we could change things as we see fit. So there we are, IP4, we can go to different things, we can reset. Everything is here, very easily accessible to any user. So far they're living up to their claim to fame. We also have network connections, and we can add network connections, and we could go Ethernet, a whole bunch of different ones, VLAN, OpenVPN, everything's here. So quite a lot of choices there. Here we have the updates manager, and it's telling us that there is an update. Looks like a new kernel is available, but on closer inspection I don't see the difference in particular with the numbers 4130-38, 4130-38, 43-16-04.1. I don't see there's anything of a difference there. We will later see which kernel is actually installed. So that in of itself, that's a little funny. Here we just have the spacer, and here we have the weather app. For whatever city, it's very easy to configure. Again, you go into the desklets configuration panel, and you can configure that. As you can see right now, it's 1 degree Celsius outside, and I wish it was something like 30, but that's just me. Here we have, of course, notifications, removable drives. Take a snapshot. We can actually record the snapshot, record the screen, sorry, or take a snapshot. Very nice, very interesting, and it's built in right there. Here we have accessibility and my user. And then we can change a few things. We can go straight to system settings from here as well. One thing that's fantastic, and may not be fantastic for some, but I think it's great, is that with Linux there's many paths to the same destination. We see that we can go to system settings from here. We can do quite a lot of things there. We can actually go to system settings from here as well. So there's many ways to get to the destination you want to go to. It may confuse some, but after using it for a while, you figured why more DEs don't have that as well. So let's continue. We have dark mode up here, which will revert the theme of FerenOS to a dark, much more dark theme. I've had on and off issues with this with respect to crashing Cinnamon, which does return very gracefully, but then completely messing up the icons down here. But then again, that might be because I'm running in a virtual machine. So let's try it now. Okay. We can see that, yes, indeed, it has turned to a dark mode, although I didn't show you from before. And this is the file manager that's included. It's very simple, yet very functional. Okay, and here we have actual themes, the theme manager, and we can go in here and change the themes as we wish. We can go back to the Feren default if we want, and here we are back. And we can see that Nemo, our file manager, is informing us that its menu has been hidden. We're not going to worry about that. That's not something that really bothers me at all, actually. So we'll get into that. So this is Nemo, and it's running quite well. All right, so let's continue. This is another thing. We have the Feren welcome screen, and here it is, working very well. This is great. It's something by default, at least with my installation, did not default to show dialog at startup, which most distributions will. This is great for a new user. You can install software, you can go back to default settings, reset your theme. You can go back, you can go to the online store. There's an online store, there's a community, you can get involved, introduction, features, getting started, and recommendations. Wine is a must. And by the way, Feren does include Wine. One of its other claim to fame is being able to run a host of different Windows-specific software out of the box. So Wine is there, Steam is available, Corebird, Twitter client, Coribi, which is animated desktop replacement. So there's a few things you could get here, and you can easily install them from here. Games Pack, not a big fan of that. Install a variety of and another wallpaper changer. And you can install software. We'll start the software center. We have Snap apps and Flatpak apps. So right from here, it's plus and minus. For a brand new user to Linux, that might be a little overwhelming, but it's great to have it from the get-go. So let's continue. We have the web browser, which by default is Vivaldi, a very capable web browser. The theming is a little brash, but it works. Here we go. It seems to work very fast. Tragedy right there. Seems to work quite well. So Vivaldi is a web browser, but as with any Linux distribution, installing whatever you want to install, whether it be Chrome, Chromium, Firefox, or Opera, or the host of others that exist, you can do that very easily. And here we have the software manager, so let's go into that. I do find that the software manager does take some time to load, but there it is, considering the specs of the system. Again, we are running in a virtual machine. Performance, by the way, seems to be pretty good, but we'll get to that at the end in the conclusion. So we have a very nice graphically presented file, or I should say software manager. And we have categories, and we have editor's picks, and then down here we have the categories. We could also do a search. And it's in real time. As you type, it's finding stuff that's there, so that's really good. So we have the Chrome web browser right here, and other things. Right, and we have a lot of things. We can even do something like here, and then we have all the web browsers that are available. With Firefox, Chrome. I don't see Opera. Interesting. Maybe I'm blind. I'm sure it's easy to get. That's another one of my favorites. And we have a lot of things here. So we can go back. And we can also search via categories. We can go to internet. You want to go to web. Where we are. We're with Firefox, Chromium, Transmission, Wireshark. A lot of things. Make it really easy to install. So if I click on Firefox, we get a blurb on what it is. Get some ratings from users. Different languages, obviously. And we can just click easily on install and it will install it for us. So all in all, very good. Software Manager is very nice. Here we have Shutter, screenshot program, gives us a little blurb. It's all web-based, very, very nice. I like that. Let's go and look at the installed applications. Here we have the favorite apps. We have Vivaldi files. We have a text editor. So a very simple text editor. Z 1.63, nothing fancy, but you know what? You don't need anything fancy. It's a text editor, for goodness sake. With the welcome screen, we have Pantheon Mail, which is included, so we can set that up. I would prefer to install Thunderbird, but let's keep looking. VLC Media Player is by default our media player, and here we have photos. So importing photos, that's probably some of the stuff that's already included. So that's good right there. So let's go. We have home, we'll just bring up our file manager, documents, pictures. Here we'll bring up our documents just like that. So let's continue. So let's go to, so these are the folders. Here we go to all applications. Here we go. So those are just, this first page is just quick access. Let's go to applications. So accessories, we have calculator, character map, clock, disks. So it shows you disk usage. Okay, and I guess we can do a few other things from here. We can manage, we can create partitions, format partitions and whatnot. Pretty good tool. Help with maps, password and keys. So we have a password manager. These days a password manager is a godsend. It really can be, and a curse depending if you manage it correctly. So we continue. Redshift, screen reader, screenshot, text editor, Tomboy notes, image writer, which is great to have, virtual keyboard, XPad, and games. We just have Steam. I believe that would be the Steam installer, and then Steam will be installed, and you can play all your Steam games as long as you have the proper hardware and the compatibility. For graphics, we have a document viewer, Krita, which is another image viewer / editor. Very, very good. I guess you could say it's somewhat of a competitor to GIMP, but it's a different app. I wouldn't put them in the same box. And let's continue. We have photos, so the photo viewer and simple scan. For internet, we have mail, Ramina, Steam, transmission, Vivaldi, and web browser. And Ramina is a remote desktop software, so we can connect to remote desktops. Okay, Office. We have LibreOffice, always good to see. So we have the full LibreOffice suite is included. Writer, Math, Impress, Draw, Calc, Base. And we have the document viewer we saw before. Another, we have the Conky desktop clock toggler and FerenOS transfer tool. This is interesting. This is transfer files and some settings from Windows to FerenOS and back. Now, welcome to transfer. Please select one of your two options. So let's see. You can transfer your user folder, your documents, your videos. Interesting. I'm not sure. For example, I wouldn't need this, but maybe some people, in particular those who are still doing a lot of their work in the Windows environment, could see this potentially as something very time-saving. So that's interesting. Sound and video, or Cheese, multimedia codecs, which we could install easily via app. It's going to go and do that right away. We're going to close that. We don't need that to be done. This is just a demonstration of this thing. VLC Media Player. So this is telling us if you want the codecs, we'll just cancel. That's the meta codec installer. Install a bunch of different codecs. Administration, disk usage analyzer. We have the driver manager, which is great if you have proprietary, if you have hardware such as video cards and others that you can use the proprietary manufacturer's drivers, and it will go out and seek them out for you. Power statistics. Okay, but your processor. Right now, it's not running. Again, this is running in a virtual machine, so all functionality may not be there per se, but I usually get around 99-95%. So we have software manager again, software sources, switch to unstable channel. That's probably cutting edge software as opposed to software might be a version behind, but it's been known for its stability. And we have the good old Synaptic Package Manager, harking back to the old Debian days, which still works fantastic and is great. Not very newbie friendly at all with respect, but then again, that's not what it's about. Okay, if you want to get some work done and you know what you're doing, you're probably going to be using Synaptic Package Manager. Or you could be. System reports. So stack trace and whatnot, and we can continue. Administration, again, welcome screen, we already went, and we have preferences with display preferences, keyboard, mouse, input, and we'll get to that. System settings. So this is the system settings. It's quite complete. Just go through it really quickly here. What we have, of course, backgrounds, effects, whatnot. We have our themes, our fonts, and you can see everything that's here. It's pretty self-explanatory, most of the descriptions. There we have online accounts, hot corners. Oh, I didn't remember. Let me try that again. Oh, looks like I have to regrow it every time. Interesting. Anyways, again, nothing earth-shaking or anything like that. So screensaver, hot corners, window tiling, workspaces, configure our display, mouse, our networking, our printers. It's just your typical add printer workbox. Sorry, the contrast here is terrible between everything. There we go. Driver manager, again, we have a firewall, software sources, login window, users, and groups. Again, the developers have claimed, and I'll repeat again, that is FerenOS is what makes Linux more usable by the everyday user. Do I agree with this? Yeah, pretty much. But so does Mint, that it's based on. I see where they've done a few things to make FerenOS different or differentiate themselves from Mint. Most definitely I've seen that. My question is, would I use FerenOS over Mint? Would I? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would. Out of the box, you can be very productive with FerenOS right out of the box. Immediately get started, install. Maybe you can run some updates and it's already telling you the updates are here. And then you can go and be very productive and get that done. Let's see something here. I didn't show you the desklets. So these are the desklets that are installed. And you can manage them very easily. You unlock them, of course. It's all locked. I'd have to open it, unlock it. It's not a big deal. How do I feel about FerenOS? I like it. I like it. It's based on an old favorite of mine, Linux Mint. It works. It seems like it's fairly stable. It's got one or two little quirks to it. Performance-wise, I can't really... Sometimes I can tell a lot about performance, considering I'm running in a virtual machine, how it would on real hardware. I don't think any modern computer is going to have a problem, or even slightly less than modern with FerenOS. It seems to run quite without issues. I don't see any real problems with it at all. Just a quick look. We have the Linux kernel 4.10.0-38. So definitely a little older. This is the one that we would install. Okay, name and new version. It's a little confusing, but considering what I have installed, this is definitely an upgrade. You would think that this would be the one installed, and that's the one, but I digress. Anyways, I'm looking at it from the eyes of a new user. I'm not looking at it at the eyes from a Linux veteran. A lot of my reviews, people think, will say things like, well, you should have known this or should have known that. Well, you know what? If you're coming to Linux directly from Windows, or if you've had some small interaction with Linux, I'm going to notice these things, and I'm going to call them out as if this person was new. I would think FerenOS would be something that I can easily get into, and I think most new users to Linux would be very comfortable fairly quickly. The selection of software that is available is not that overwhelming at all to really set back. I think too much software is actually a negative with respect to new users, or even people who have been using Linux moderately for some time. I think that FerenOS does a good job in what it sets out to do, but then again, it's working on top of a base, which is Linux Mint, that already does that in spades. So I say FerenOS is a good look. I would take a definite look at it if you're coming into Linux, or if you already use Linux and just want to give another distribution a chance. So that's it for my kicking the tires of FerenOS. Hope you enjoyed it. It's been a while. It's been a minute since I've put a video out there. I've been quite occupied, but hopefully things will be back on track. Got a few new hardware builds coming up, and hopefully I'll be able to share those with you. If you know anybody who would like to be interested in the content I have here on this channel, please tell them. New subscribers are always welcome. And thanks for watching. Take care.